2014.
Committee stage. Council is now in committee. Members may refer to Appendix 1 to the script for the debate and voting arrangements for the bill. I will first deal with the clauses with no amendment. I now propose the question to you, and that is that the following clauses stand part of the Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Amendment Bill 2014. Clauses 1 to 6, 8, 9, 10, 12 to 21, 23, 24, 26 to 48, 50, 52, 53, 54, 56, and 57. Does any member wish to speak? And I put the question to you, and that is that the clauses just read out stand part of the bill. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise your hands. I think the question is agreed by majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. Clauses 7, 11, 22, 25, 49, 51, and 55. Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury. Chairman, I move the amendment to clauses read out just now, clauses 7, 11, 22, 25, 49, 51, and 55. The committee stage amendments have been forwarded to members. Does any member wish to speak? Mr. Cheuk-yan. Chairman, I want to speak on clause 25. I'd like it to be withdrawn for separate voting because we are against the amendment in clause 25. Well, we'd like to revert it back to the original bill's proposal. That is, the accrued benefits can be withdrawn 12 times a year by phases. And as we all know, elderly people usually are quite disciplined. They may wish to withdraw $4,000 at a time each month for 12 times a year. Well, originally they could do so free of charge, but now they're cramped to just withdrawing 4 times a year. So elderly people would like to receive the money in the form of monthly pay. Now they cannot do so. Instead of having $4,000 a month, they can only withdraw the accrued benefits 4 times a year with $12,000 a time. But they may not think this orderly. So why can't we give our elderly a choice for the retirees to withdraw accrued benefits month by month? The only justification for not permitting them to do so is administrative costs. For retirees, we must make it clear that it's free of charge. You're talking about administrative costs as a whole. And as said just now, it's on average 1.7%, extremely high. Even if you say that and in fact, this is the cost would just be transferred onto other scheme members who are employees. If we don't want to do that, instead of shunning the issue, we should enact legislation to regulate administrative fees and charges, or, as I always suggest, appoint a public trustee so that the government can really give a choice to employees to opt for a public trust or public trustee. This is the way to drive down fees and charges. Well, instead, if you rely on consortia who will drive up fees and charges and reduce the choices for retirees. So should we just consider administrative costs for consortia and not the choices available to retirees? This is what we should vote on. If you support me in opposing the government's amendment, you are returning to employees more choices. So I urge members to support it, support my opposition. And very rarely would I take the position of a pro-establishment camp. Originally, the government proposes that withdrawals could be made 12 times a year, so please exercise some independent thinking. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chan Kin-po. Thank you, Chairman. The phased withdrawal of accrued benefits for the MPF is intended to facilitate members' withdrawal either in one go or none at all. Well, because of the economic circumstances, some members may wish to withdraw partially their accrued benefits. So that's the background of the whole idea. They only withdraw accrued benefits when it's really necessary. It's not like what my fellow members said, that it's kind of an ATM service. And I need to tell Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan the reality. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan said that our elderly people have fiscal discipline. But it's not the ATM service. You cannot just fill in a form and withdraw money. You need to apply for the withdrawal. You need to go through a vetting procedure. You need to convert the units in the fund and then you need to wait for a week or two for money to be actually withdrawn. Are we going to ask our elderly people to go there every week for withdrawal of money? Well, it's not as easy as Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan said just now. Otherwise, it would have supported the idea. This is the reality. Well, this is about the plight that costs to elderly people. On the other hand, for each member on retirement at the age of 65, and this only happens to each member once in their life, they need to fill in a form and apply for withdrawal, and then there will be some form of fund conversion, and then they need to wait for a check to be drafted for them to draw money. Now, if we don't follow the government's proposed amendment and revert to the original, that means we can withdraw accrued benefits 12 times a year. Let's say for a retiree retiring at the age of 65, then when he reaches 80, he would have 180 times when he can withdraw benefits, accrued benefits. And definitely this will drive up costs. When we talk about high fees and charges, we should not, on the other hand, allow more times for withdrawal for the sake of flexibility. So we should be careful whether we should risk raising administrative fees and charges for the sake of more withdrawals a year. Are you really helping scheme members or not? And I also feel very strongly about this. Of course, Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan had not attended the BC's meeting many times, but he did ask a question. He asked the government this: if you allow so many withdrawals, ultimately the cost will be transferred on to existing members. So originally, I thought he also supported the administration's amendment. And in fact, in the Bills Committee, no member objected to the proposed amendment. Not anybody from the pro-establishment or the pandemic camp. So nobody proposed any amendment in contrary to this. So when things have reached this stage, and if all of a sudden he is objecting to the proposed amendment, I am really shocked. We don't have a chance to explain the rationale behind to our pandemic members. because costs will be transferred onto existing members. It is not really necessary to have so many withdrawals a year. Now, originally, the administration can also choose whether to set a minimum amount or not. In theory, you can just withdraw $1 or $2 now. That's why the administration is proposing to reduce the number of withdrawals a year from 12 to 4, and therefore there is no need to set a minimum amount. Now, if it is reverted to the original, there would be a problem, systematically speaking. And I speak from the bottom of my heart. We want to simplify the procedure. We really want to drive down fees and charges so as not to inconvenience our elderly people. It's not the same as an ATM service. You need to fill in application forms. You need to convert the units in your MPF fund, and you may also need to bear the risk of prices going up and down. Yes, there may be some flexibility, but it's not as flexible as you think. So please be careful before you make this decision. Any other members would like to speak?
Mr. Chung-kai, well, at that time, I thought it was just academic. The administrative cost is as high as 1.5%. So everyone would withdraw the benefits as soon as the time comes. You, Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan, asked for allowing 12 installments, but no one would do that because it's going to be eroded by 1.5% every year. On the contrary, if the installments are limited to 4, but to many employees, it's still too many. They need just one installment. But why do I think that we should provide for 12 installments in the law? So if it's better to withdraw the benefits and put it in one's saving accounts, then your benefits will not be eroded by the high administrative costs. But we should provide for 12 installments, in my view, in the law. If one day we have the core fund, the fee comes down to 0.75% or 0.5%, then the people would have a choice. It's a free market then. It may also prompt the development of an annuity system. It's just filling a form per month. It can be automated, Mr. Chan Kim-po. I can just fill up a form, and I can get $2,000 to $3,000 a month up to a certain age. If this is provided for in the bill, well, you said it should be 12 installments at first, and then you succumb to pressure when some members suggested otherwise. But because without any further injection, the member would certainly withdraw the accrued benefits in one lump sum and as soon as possible. So we need to consider this in the light of the soundness of the law. Because in the future, people may be able to make use of the choice of getting 12 installments a year, and then they get a small sum every month to provide for their retirement. So, Professor Chen, why do we have to cut the number of installments from 12 to 4? It's because the objection from the trade. I've told Mr. Chen that don't worry, no one is going to make 12 withdrawals a year. Actually, 4 withdrawals is already a lot. The only cost you can quote is the operating cost. Because of high operating costs, people won't wait. They will just withdraw the benefits immediately. But on the other hand, if more money, more funds are kept in the account, the trustee, the service provider, gets 1.65% every year. So now you're suggesting that people should withdraw the benefits ASAP. You should instead, the trustees, the service providers should instead encourage people to keep the money in their accounts. But this is just academic. I think the majority, great majority of members would just withdraw the benefits as soon as it is allowed. Mr. Chen Kim-po, well, Mr. Sin Chung-kai tries to assure me. He says 4 times is already a lot. And why do you want 12 times, 12 installments? This is puzzling to me. As for the fee under the idea of a core fund, it's under 1%. But Mr. Sin Chung-kai, there are dozens of funds with a fee under 1%. Why are they not very popular? Well, it's because of the consideration of return. People are not concerned about the fee as long as the return is good. So please clarify the facts before you try to argue with me. The government is saying that we should either reduce the number of installments from 12 to 4, or we introduce a minimum amount of withdrawal. So the administration is saying that we have responded to the call of the trade, and by reducing the number of installments from 12 to 4. So instead of introducing a minimum amount of withdrawal, the thing is you didn't argue for this in the Bills Committee. Otherwise, I would organize the practitioners in the fund management sector to explain to you. And now they're saying that this is the right thing to do. There are people in the pan-democratic camp who are rational. So I'm just angry that you don't allow the trade to do something as rational as this. This would undermine our status to be a fund management center. I informed the Bills Committee that this was what the government would like to do, and no one objected. So since you are saying that it's 4 times would be too many, but you are now asking for 12 to be provided, Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan. Well, I'll allow Mr. Chen Kim-po a chance to respond further. You are saying that you will ask the fund managers to talk to us. Yes, I would like to talk to them. Why is it that the performance is lagging behind the inflation rate? It's because it's the high fees. You are lagging behind the inflation rate by 1.53%. It's because you ask for high fees. And you are saying that we shouldn't ask the elderly to fill in 12 forms. Why 12 forms? Why don't you allow them to fill in just one form, saying that they would make 12 withdrawals per year? Is that the practice of the fund management sector, that you must fill in one form for each withdrawal? You can't fill in one form for 12 installments? The MPF is about retirement protection. It's about a stable life after retirement. That's why we want to fight for a universal retirement protection system. And we want to sort of make the MPF system akin to an annuity scheme. Well, there are such products in the market, but they're very expensive. So can we do something to enable the member, the retired person, to make withdrawals by installments, so that they would not be worried about how to handle the few $100,000 that they have. They don't know whether they should invest it or what. So that this means that the retired person has no sense of security. So why can't we have an annuity scheme? And now, instead of an annuity scheme, you are not allowing them to make 12 installments as if it's a monthly payment. You will say that, well, this would add to the cost. It would pass on as administrative costs. Well, of course you do this, and I don't know how much is actually the charge, how excessive the charge and fees and charges have been. You are going to see a downward trend of the administrative fees, because we are talking about bigger and bigger pool. It's going to be billions of dollars over the decades. With a bigger and bigger pool, the administrative cost should, as a proportion, go down because of the principle of economies of scale.
Now it's a reduction of 2.1% to 1.7%, a very small reduction. I think the funds should come to explain to us how much profits they've reaped. You mentioned monetary management, but in fact, the administrative fees of the fund managers and administrators reap all the benefits. Now, I'm only talking about very trivial issues. Very trivial. And then you say that administrative fees are too high. Let me say this. Administrative fees too high is actually a matter for the industry. Don't use this as an excuse to say that 12 times per year will result in high administrative cost. How many people will choose 12 times, 12 withdrawals a year? As Mr. Chung-kai said, people actually don't trust the MPF system. You stand to benefit. I'm really speaking for the benefit of the MPF system. We would like the elderly to have a retirement scheme. That's even better. Otherwise, they just don't know how to use sums of money, and the cons will outweigh the pros. Mr. Chan Kim-po, I will definitely arrange for trustee representatives and fund representatives to explain to Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan and Mr. Chung-kai. If you know the facts, it will be very helpful in decision making. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan repeatedly mentioned 3% of return, and after deducting administrative cost is nothing. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan should understand that 3% has already deducted all administrative costs. Please make sure you know that. If I can find out the data, will you immediately support the amendment? If you are speaking for the benefit of the elderly, don't ask us to use annuity to handle retirement benefits, because every time you have to buy and sell before you can have a transaction. If the economic cycle is poor, then are you asking them to close their eyes and effect 12 withdrawals a year? Of course not. Members ask why not. In actual fact, there are a lot of difficulties. It's easy to speak, but things are not as easy as you think. There are a lot of difficulties. You have to understand that. Don't just speak and speak and speak. It's very problematic to do so. I'll arrange for the industry to meet you. In fact, they've already prepared a set of presentations to explain to you the MPF system. Of course, the MPF system has its problems, but it's not as terrible as you describe. And to a certain extent, The MPF system has been in place for 10 odd years. Many workers told me that fortunately there's such a system. At least they have $100,000 and the children do respect them because of that. They've already prepared a set of presentations to explain each and every point to you. I'm ready. So at that time, would you please pay attention to our remarks, and we're willing to take questions from you. We'll provide you with the correct answers. Mr. Chung-kai, Mr. Chairman, just now I already mentioned the point mentioned by Mr. Cheuk-yan. That is serious erosion of the benefits. You're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. So the benefits reaped by them are about $9 billion. Quite a huge sum of money. Now, what about 4 withdrawals a year? Is it too much? Let me tell you the logic. 1.65% of administrative fee, originally 2.1%. Now 1.65 or 1.7%. So every year I'm losing 1.65 or 1.6% under the MPF system. Well, people would like to pocket that return instead. It's because the operational cost, administrative cost, and general cost of the MPF scheme are high. Yes, you are correct. You say that fees are not the most important issue. You should look at the rate of return. If you look at 10 odd years, maybe the return rate is higher. But last year, the rate of return was very low, according to the reports. The inflation rate was 4.3% last year, but the overall return rate last year was 1.53% only. Well, what's the major difference between 4 times and 12 times a year? The most important thing is that the contributors should have a choice. 4 withdrawals per year as for the trustees, the companies. So it depends on whether you attach more importance to the benefits of the contributors or the funds. If you do not decrease the costs, the contributors will not place their money in the MPF if they have a choice, a right to take back their capital. Mr. Cheuk-yan. Mr. Chairman, why is it that I spoke from my seat is because his figure was wrong. He mentioned 3% odd. In fact, the return rate of the MPF, as Mr. Chung-kai said, is 1% odd only after deducting costs, and the inflation rate was 3% odd last year. If you want to gain more than the inflation rate, then after deducting costs, the return rate has to be around 5% odd, around 5.1%. So you can see how saddening that is. Erosion by costs, erosion by inflation, a double loss. So under the MPFS, that's the problem for the employees. Of course, we welcome discussions with the fund members. We're rational. We talk about figures. The cost is $8.4 billion, 2.7 million people, $3,000 per year. A great deal of erosion. For those lowly paid, the contribution won't be too high. Say if it is $1,000 per month, 12 months, $12,000. And you have to pay $3,000 to the fund. Of course, these are average figures only. For a contribution of $12,000, the management cost may be lower, but on the average, each employee has to pay $3,000 per year. Well, if I'm to pay $3,000 per year for services, well, I can do a lot more with that sum of money if I do something else. It seems that he is very against annuity because he views that there may just be one transaction, one sale and purchase. Can you think of this product of annuity? The insurance industry knows this. There are annuity products. And like what you said, you have to have a one-off transaction or investment. In fact, there are plans to manage the funds so that annuity can be paid to the employees. Ms. Anna Wu said that MPF should head towards the annuity system. That is, with MPF, in 20 years' time, the employee can receive a monthly payment. Why can't we do this calculation? She said this should be feasible. But the industry is strongly against annuity because they say a lot of costs will be involved. Mr. Chen Kim-po? Mr. Chairman, can I put up a request? I'm sure Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan is wrong. For 10 years, the average return is 3% and inflation rate 1%. It's just the reverse. He now says that the return is 1% and inflation 3%. So MPF return rate cannot catch up with the inflation rate. Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury. After deducting cost, from the year 2000 to November 2014, the average return rate after deducting cost is 4.2%. Inflation rate 1.8%. I have to say something about this amendment. I'd like to reiterate that the government CSAs are based on careful consideration of the views of the Bills Committee, the industry, as well as relevant bodies like the Consumer Council, as well as public consultation.
If members can get the accrued benefits in a lump sum, the amendment has provided the flexibility and maintain the efficiency of the whole system and cost effectiveness of the system. The whole system will enable members to plan more flexibly about their retirement. As for increasing the number of withdrawals, that will increase operating cost or administrative cost, and the cost may have to be borne by all the members of the fund. We need to maintain a relatively simple and effective framework for the withdrawal of accrued benefits. I've said this before. Now, the MPFA will continue to monitor the new arrangement and also the fees of trustees and continue to improve our system to maintain the interests of protect interests of members. Mr. Chen Kim-po, the Secretary has clarified the numbers. I hope Mr. Lee understands that 10 years on average is 4 point something after deducting administrative costs. It is higher than inflation because inflation is just 1 point something. Let me explain annuity. Annuity means that the insurance company receive a lump sum from the client and then agrees to pay the client a monthly payment. That is very different from liquidating the units in a fund. The risk cannot be comparable. Different people have different preference. And now in the past 10 years, now we need to clarify this. Otherwise, they say, I am wrong. I'm talking about last year, 2014. Just now, all the newspapers in Hong Kong said this. The rate of return is 1 point something and inflation is 3 point something %, not about 10 odd years. We know in the past 10 odd years, it was just like a roller coaster ride. The poor rate of return last year was the third in the past 10 years. And unfortunately, if you have to liquidate your fund, you have to withdraw your benefits, then you will suffer a serious loss. A lot of his money will go down the drain. The present system allows you not to withdraw immediately. Now, if in that particular year, if it is especially bad, then you better not withdraw your accrued benefits. Now you are allowed to withdraw free of charge for 12 by 12 installments, but you don't. You just withdraw just a small bit, and then you wait for the market to turn up. I am talking about the past year, Mr. Chen Kim-po. Mr. Chairman, investment in the MPF fund is a long-term arrangement. One should not consider 1 or 2 years. I think it's more reasonable and fair to refer to 10-year return. Does any other member wish to speak? The Secretary, do you intend to reply? Now, since members asked to vote separately on Clause 25, we will vote on Clauses 7, 11, 22, 49, 51, and 55. I now propose a question to you, and that is the amendments moved by the Secretary for Financial Services on 7, 11, 12, 14, 15, and 55 be passed. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by majority of each of by the majority of members are present. I declare the amendment passed. Clauses 7, 11, 22, 49, 51, and 55 is amended. I now put a question to you, and that is clauses 7, 11, 22, 49, 51, and 55 stand part of the bill. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present, and I declare the motion passed. I now put a question to you, and that is the amendment moved by the Secretary for Financial Services with regard to Clause 25 be passed. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against. Mr. Cheuk-yan claims a division. The bell will ring for 5 minutes.
開始表決。
Voting begins. Please check your votes. If there's no question, voting is closed and the results displayed. 61 present, 31 for, 29 against. The question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the amendment passed. Please order, please. And now put the question to you, and that is the clause 25 as amended stand part of the bill. And I'll put the question to you as stated. Will those in favor please raise your hands? Those against, please raise your hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of members present. I declare the motion passed. Clauses 7, 11, 22, 25, 49, and 51 and 55 as amended. New clause 26A, new clause 27A, section 67A added, new part heading before new clause 58, part 8, transitional and savings, new clause 58, transitional and savings. Secretary for Financial Services and Treasury. Chairman, I move the second reading of the new clauses and the new part heading read out just now. The contents have been set out in the paper circularized to members. The new clauses are about transitional and savings, and they would serve to explain the applicability of the provisions before and after the amendment bill comes into force. This will not change the content of the bill. The Bills Committee agrees to those new clauses. I urge members to support the proposed amendments and new clauses. And I'll propose the question to you, and that is that the new clauses 26A, 27A, and 58, and new part heading before new clause 58 be read the second time. Does any member wish to speak? And I'll put the question to you as stated. With those in favor, please raise the hands. Those against, please raise the hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. New clauses 26A, 27A, and 58, and new part heading before new clause 58. Secretary for Financial Services and Treasury. Chairman, I move that the new clauses and new part heading read out just now be added to the bill. I now propose the question to you, and that is that the new clauses 26A, 27A, and 58, and the new part heading before new clause 58 be added to the bill. I now put the question to you as stated. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. Council now resumes.